Man.
Yeah, just chit chat. And then also
It goes by fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does it?
Mm-hmm.
So we'll do the intro, and I'll just do like dealing cards.
Okay.
Go to Kevin, then to Mike, and then to Ruben.
Sounds good.
And you can say I'm Ruben from Texas All-Water Fishing.
Yeah, you can.
Okay.
That's okay to say.
I can say myself.
I'm just reminding you of who you are.
Okay, thanks. I wore a shirt for that. I can look down.
I saw you.
It's like the name of my underwear. That's me.
Hey, welcome everybody to the Salty Yak podcast. I'm your host, Kerry Beeson, and today I have a super special treat for y'all. Today we are doing a YouTubers podcast, and I have invited a couple, one guy you know, the other two guys I hope you know. So like as in dealing cards, we'll go left to right, and we'll start with you.
I'm Kevin from Kevin's Outside.
I'm Mike from Texas Fishing Force.
Ruben, Texas All-Water Fishing.
Gentlemen, thank you all so much for coming and being on the podcast today. I'm going to tell the story again because first time I met Ruben, we're coming out. It was dark.
It was dark.
It was dark.
Yeah.
It wasn't by a porta potty though.
There was a porta potty in the area.
It was in the area. I'm going in to buy some live shrimp. He's coming out. I see him. I recognize him, and I'm like, "Hey, you're Ruben." And he took like half step back, and he was like, he didn't know if he was getting robbed or if he was going to get a hug. He wasn't sure.
Man crushes come in groups, so you had a friend in the car, so I was nervous.
No, I was alone. But you got some pretty eyes.
Thank you.
Guys, thank y'all for coming on. And what we're going to do today, we're just going to kind of start off talking about YouTube, how we got in it, why we got in it, and the different things. If you're a new YouTuber out there, maybe give y'all some hints and kind of see how we work through the process. And we're just going to talk with about some of the issues that at least Mike and Ruben have to deal with when you get kind of semi-famous and your YouTube channel grows. Mike, you're over 10,000 now.
Yep. Just hit 10,000 about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, and then Ruben, you just busted 5,000.
Yeah, that's correct. 5,000.
Yeah, it's
amazing.
Wow. I look at mine and I'm like, I don't know. I'm not retired like some people in the room and can have all the time in the world to edit videos and do everything like that.
Well,
it is what it is, right? Somebody's got to do it.
Somebody's got to live it.
Right. So, Mike, let's just start with you.
Okay.
When did you start kayak fishing? How'd you get into it?
So I used to do a lot of boat fishing beforehand, and I ended up selling my boats. And I had a friend that just told me, "Hey, you should go do some kayak fishing. You can really get back into places where you couldn't with the boat, and it'd be a lot of fun." And so I bought the kayak, honestly, as just a hobby in between when I got my next boat, and then I just stayed on it. I never bought another boat, and I just kept on. So, that's how my kayak adventure started. It was supposed to be temporary, and then it wasn't.
How long you been doing it?
About 2 years.
Yeah. Did you start with the kayak that you have now?
Yeah.
So you started in the Hobie.
Yeah. But I sold my boat for quite a bit of money, and so I was like, well, if I'm going to buy a kayak, I'm not going to go cheap on it. I don't want to hate this immediately. So
yeah, I remember that video you made, beginning kayaker from a beginning kayaker.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's a good aspect to have. I mean,
yeah. I did tips. Actually, that is my most viewed video at like 270,000 views.
Wow.
Yeah.
Ruben, your turn.
What's that?
How long you been kayak fishing? How did you get into it?
Well, first of all, I had a nephew. Well, I still have a nephew, but he's more or less my cousin's son. So he's very young, and he started wanting to kayak fish. So we started kayak fishing together. I actually bought my first kayak. I didn't take the Mike route. I bought a pair of used kayaks for $150 each. They were a sit-inside Pelican. So I started at possibly the lowest level you can in a kayak, and then I slowly started growing, and now I'm fishing out of an Outback. But so I know what it's like to paddle against 15, 20 mile an hour winds in a kayak that I probably shouldn't be out there in the water with. But it only had a few leaks, but I've been kayak fishing for probably about 8 years now.
Wow. So I started off, with the buddy that sold me 2 kayaks for $100 each. And one of them ended up on a Matagorda Island trip where we paddled the 9 miles out to Matagorda. It started developing leaks. like serious leaks. Like I had to get out with a 5-gallon bucket and so I can make it back to Port O'Connor. So I've done my fair share of paddling too. So I got a question for you.
Sure.
Funk So Brother.
Okay, so Funk So Brother, it was just a channel that I just did myself.
Mm-hmm.
I had some gaming videos on it, some home videos on it, and I just took a GoPro out there with me. Actually, it wasn't even a GoPro originally. It was just like an action $50 camera that you buy on Amazon. And so it just started like that route. And then slowly people started subscribing to my channel. And at first people were like, man, this is a weird channel. I mean, you have like Chinese New Year on here and stuff like that. And not that I'm Asian, but my wife is. And so we do a lot of Asian culture stuff. And they're like, man, this is a weird channel. I mean, you have some good content, but this is pretty strange. So after I hit close to 300 subs, I'm like, oh, let me pump the brakes on this channel and let me switch it over to something, more geared towards what the public wants. They want to see fishing videos, kayak fishing videos, and apparently people want to watch me, foul hook fish.
Exactly.
So I'll do that. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Well,
so that's where Funk So Brother came from.
I remember because I've been watching you before you changed the channel.
Yeah, me too.
And the name on the side of your kayak had always, I was like, what does that mean? Because he's never really said, is there any kind of meaning behind that?
Well, it's just bit of a silly name, there was a song way back when in the 90s, check them out now. Funk So Brother. And I kind of stole that, but I spelled it different than they spelled it.
Yeah.
I put, anyway. So it just kind of stuck with me, and I just thought it sounded something cool. It was a cool sounding name. It's kind of silly, I am most of the time.
That's the question I wanted to ask the most today was what was behind that name?
I think you and I fished for the first time a week after you changed your name.
And
I
right.
remember I was like, dude, I couldn't find you again. Where's what happened? Did you delete your channel? He's like, no, I didn't know. I just changed my name.
Yeah.
And
when you were fishing before, you had a boat and you invited me or asked me to come out,
Yep.
and I thought we'd taken your boat out, and you wouldn't show up with a kayak. So thanks a lot.
well, that's cool because we showed up at a kayak launch.
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
So when you're making the YouTube videos or you're thinking about your channel and you're going out to do the next one, do you have any like goals? Maybe for that video or maybe just for the channel?
Sometimes I pre-plan what I'm doing based on like whatever's trending. When we get into October, I like really try to push, some of the flounder videos. And so I pre-plan a lot of that stuff. But, the rest of the year, I go and I try to get as much footage as I can. And then when I get back, I try to edit and plan my video around the footage that I got.
Yeah.
So it's not always a pre-planned thing. Sometimes it's just I happen to come on, some good footage and okay, we're going to use that. So.
Yeah, I would agree 100%. Like obviously this time of the year, there's a lot of trout, you're fishing a lot deeper water. So I will gear towards about what's, shaved or create or mold my video based on what species I'm targeting, the area I'm fishing, if I got a new rod or new reel or new bait or something like that I want to showcase that I think is really cool, then I'll do some of that. But for me, a lot of it is storytelling,
Yeah.
So I tell a lot of good stories, right? I'm not patting myself on the back, but I tell a lot of stories and, I'm a bit silly. So a lot of the stuff that I try to create the atmosphere, bring it first person, and just kind of showcase on how the day went and the trip went. And if I can get something that may help an angler in there, then that's really a plus because that's kind of how I started fishing. So I didn't have like someone hand down or show me, hey, use this lure, use this jig head, use this. So as I'm learning, I want to share that knowledge and experience with people. So that's a lot of that goes into my videos, a lot of stuff like that.
So do you think about the people that are watching your YouTube channels? Are they coming to watch it for entertainment or are they coming to learn something?
Absolutely to learn. I would say at least 75, 80%. Now I try to, be entertaining at the same time, but I've noticed that the videos that do well are the ones that give the most information. And so a lot of my channel over time has kind of geared and it's switched to what do people want? What do they want to watch? What do they want to learn about? And so I really, I've been doing a lot of videos lately that are just kind of inside my studio explaining things and doing a lot of that, and that they do well. That's what people want to see, and it's a tricky balance between entertainment and knowledge. But
I agree.
And your videos have been showing more of that lately.
Yeah, I think like with any YouTuber, of course, I'm a lot smaller than they are, and I haven't been doing it near as long. So I've kind of evolved from I'm going to call it the selfish YouTuber, where you're just going out there and because at first mine was mainly just for my kids and stuff to watch, and then so I just.
You remember that question I asked you?
Which one?
Like, what's your purpose of your YouTube channel? Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember you asking.
You kind of kicked it in gear since then. I'm just letting you know.
Yeah, because I had to think, because it made me stop and think, because I start, not one reason I wasn't getting that many views, but like I said, it was mostly from my kids and stuff. And then as it progressed, I started thinking, well, what are people getting out of my videos? Why are they watching my videos? And so I started trying to put in the storyline, kind of like what Ruben's talking about, telling a story. So when I start my videos, I do them from the beginning. I don't really put too much stuff in the boat ramp, unless it's a place that everybody knows about. I might show me loading and unloading the kayak and stuff, and I don't care, But I always try here, especially recently, to put in what lures was I using, why was I using them, what are the conditions? What was the water temperature? Things like that. Yeah. I think people really respond well to that.
What do y'all think about how important is B-roll?
Well, I think B-roll is important, although I don't have a lot of it.
And what makes good B-roll?
Well, I think that like the whole cinematic, when like Mike flying his drone and with that nice lens that he has. And, I really enjoy and appreciate a lot of that B-roll that YouTubers put out there. Now, myself, I'm easily distracted, and I have to constantly remind myself things. Like, I'm going to get a tattoo from Mike that says B-roll on my left hand, so I remember to shoot some daggum B-roll when I'm out there.
Because you get back to the launch, like, dang,
I'm
I got
editing,
nothing.
and I'm like, what? Oh, okay.
So I think B-roll is super important, and I started using it, because I was following other YouTubers, and I was just like, man, some of these videos are just so incredible to watch. I have no interest in the video at all, but I keep watching because I just like the way they look.
Yeah.
There's one guy that Kevin pointed to me to. Of course, he's got a professional background in this, and it's like watching a mini movie.
Yeah.
And
who's that?
Next Level.
Oh, Chris. Yeah, Next Level Fishing.
Yeah,
I love his
right.
channel.
Yeah.
His stuff's on point.
But yeah, so I think it's really important. And there was points in early on when I was doing videos where I was kind of jumping around and doing a lot of different stuff, and I had no way to tie that together. Mm-hmm. I would just be at the ramp, or I would be, just starting my early day of fishing, and then all of a sudden it would be mid-afternoon and there was just a cut. So it didn't make any sense. And so I started doing some B-roll of just the travel, which just ties it together, and it just keeps one point smoothly rolling into the next. And I think it looks awesome. And I know you said that you never get B-roll, and I'll tell you what I do is when I'm out there and I'm having problems, I'm not catching fish for an hour or so, I'll just pull out the camera, take some quick B-roll real quick, and then get right back to fishing. And, if I'm struggling a little bit longer, I'll pull it out again.
My biggest thing is that I don't even like to stop casting to take a drink.
Yep.
Yeah.
I will just cast until my arm falls off, and then it's time to go
food.
Home. Yeah, absolutely.
Got to pee. I'm just going to hold it.
So there's a separation that I'm struggling with right now is, am I making a video or am I fishing?
Yeah.
And then I have to remind myself that, am I just here hanging out trying to hook up, or am I trying to put some good content for people to watch?
Well, you also got to remember one thing about B-roll is if you take the time to do the B-roll on a day like Mike said, where it's like really slow or something, you don't have to use it in that video.
I do that all the time, and I tell people that all the time. In fact, every time I go to a new place and I bring my drone, I'll go ahead and get some drone shots just overhead, and chances are I'm not even going to use them, but at least I have them in the future. There's a few places that I've used some of the same drone footage that I got all in one day. Now, it's different clips from that, but I've used them in multiple videos.
Yeah.
There you go. Hot tip right there.
Yep.
so the B-roll. So let's talk about your.
Just don't talk about me losing my drone.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
He texts me and he's like, "You're not gonna believe this. I lost my drone." And I'm like, "What?" I think, "Doesn't that thing have?" He goes like, "Yeah, I was bringing it back and it went down in the marsh." I kind of know. I saw it go down. So you got lucky.
I did, and I don't understand. I still don't understand. I don't know why, but the DJI app would not give me the exact location of it until later that night.
Okay.
And so I went back the next day, tromped through the cow crap to find it.
So doing,
you got to watch that video. You haven't seen it.
I hadn't seen. I hadn't seen it.
Yeah.
so doing. We do when we do our videos, we think about doing. We're teaching, right? We're showing, hey, I'm here fishing this point or this point. This is why I'm here. This is what I'm using. And then there's some entertainment, I guess, aspect of it that people, want to see they want to see the funny stuff. Yeah. That's the stuff, trudging through the mud, whatever you're doing, foul hooking fish, whatever. It's the funny stuff that I think that's, Kevin the other day, we're fishing the white bass and he pulls up between me and the other guy and he catches a fish. I'm like, "You god dang pot liquor, what the hell are you doing?" Just the conversations that you have when you're.
Yeah, the other guy said, did you just catch a fish right between us?" I looked at him. I said, "I sure did."
Yeah, go ahead. So you go out there and you get your video. You get home with it. What do you do with it, Ruben?
Well, the first thing I do is that I watch it.
Mm-hmm.
I watch pretty much like 95% of it. I watch it all.
All right, let's put that on pause. So when you're recording your videos, are you looping them, or are you on and off, or are you recording the whole entire trip? How are you doing it?
So I keep my head camera on nonstop.
Okay.
And the biggest reason is because that is where you're going to get the footage of the actual hookup. And I like to get a video of the cast and then the hookup on a fish.
Yep.
And so it's always going to be that. Now, the moment I actually hook up and I have a fish on, my other camera is voice activated, so I tell that to turn on. And so I like to do a lot of footage where it's both me and you get 2 points of view of catching a fish. And one, I mean, let's face it, people have a really short attention span. And so that constant switch just keeps them watching longer. And so that's what I do.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, I'm just looking at Ruben because he said he has a problem with attention.
That's true.
What are we talking about?
So are you using multiple cameras too?
I am. I have the one in front of me, and I will use that one sometimes. I'm not like as professional as Mike is.
Well, he's got 10,000 viewers, and he's on the way up. So
yeah. So so I record the one on my hat is in looping.
Okay.
Yeah, and the other one I just turn on and off.
Kevin?
I keep both of them on all the time, mainly because number one, I don't want to miss anything. Number two is I get a lot of my B-roll from my head camera. And sometimes I don't know what that B-roll is going to be until I get home and download it. Mm-hmm. And it may be some birds flying that I may have missed them with my eyes, but when it looks really cool when I see it on the video.
Cool. How many batteries and SD cards you running through?
I have 10, I have 2 cameras, but I have 10, basically 5 spares plus the 2 in each. I'm not running through that in a day, but I like to have them there just in case.
But you also run with the charger, right?
Yes,
you have a charger.
I also run it with a charger and an external battery pack. So the moment I take them out, I put them in that and I let them charge.
How many micro SD cards, and how big is the micro SD card?
I only bring one for each camera,
really?
And they're 128s.
Yeah. I burned up a 128 in a day just because it was a good day.
Yeah, but a lot of times, especially if some of the travel, I can go back and cut some of that and just delete it right there.
Yeah,
things that I don't need.
So you're doing some of that on the water.
Yeah. But I think I've only filled up a card once or twice. Normally, I mean, it's pretty full, but it's rare.
4K?
Yeah, 4K.
I record in 2.7, but then I convert or render in 4K.
That's what I do.
No.
Yeah.
So it doesn't take as much room up on the SD card.
Yeah, I can get about 7 hours on my SD card. Yeah, same here. You?
That could be
about
interesting.
7.
I have to learn how to do that.
Sure.
Yeah.
So let's step back to the process. So you get home now, and
and I watch everything, and then I will label the clips. So if there's a good talking point on this clip, then I will label talk oysters or talk whatever. And then when I catch a fish, I will label red 21 inches, small red, trout, or, what have you. So then I know what clips that I want to use for during the editing or for the video.
I do the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mike?
Yeah, I do the same thing. But speaking of labeling, anytime, at the end of the day, I might have 20 different clips, especially from the camera that's facing me. So what I do is after I catch a fish on the water, I will, before I turn my camera off, I will say what just happened so I'll say, 27-inch red, caught on marsh point, whatever, good footage. And then I'll end it. I'll turn it off. So when I go back to my editing, I can watch just the last 20, 30 seconds of the videos, and I know exactly what's in that clip.
Game changer. That's just game-changing information right there.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Because I've got to watch the whole video clip.
Yeah, so it was just too much to watch.
Yeah.
And so now I know what clips are good and which ones I can get rid of immediately within, 10 minutes of me being home.
So when I put them together, I'm doing like we were talking. You watch any of my videos, pretty much the way it starts is when it starts and when it ended. Everything is sequential as far as it really happened on the water. I usually don't move things around.
Yeah, me too.
Mike?
Yeah, I keep most of that. There are some things, especially if I am talking about certain fish or certain, I did a video a few weeks ago where it was a bunch of different ways to catch a red, and we ended up in the oyster for a little while. Well, some of that oyster was on the way out, some of it was on the way in. So I wanted to put all those together so that you could see, look, you can catch, redfish in the oyster, not only on top waters, but also, and so some of that wasn't at the same time.
But you were talking about fishing oyster, so it's all that's all relative.
And then I had a lot of the middle stuff that was also sequential in order, but most of the time I keep it in order.
Yeah, same here. Most of the time I will, unless it's like Mike said, a talking point where I'm discussing something or talking about something and catch a video or catch a fish in the area I was talking. So
when you start a video, any thoughts on? So I'm making this video. Do you put I put little what I think are little clips, 5-10 second clips in the front where I think if somebody sees it, they'll think that's interesting and keep watching the video. What are your thoughts when you're
sometimes I would do that. Sometimes I will, especially like the introduction part and kind of like the B-roll that we're talking about from the intro to the fishing. I will have some of those catches in there. I don't do it often, but I will because I know it might intrigue somebody who's just doesn't know the channel, doesn't know. Maybe they're typically freshwater fish or something they stumbled on and they start watching the video and like, hold on, this guy's catching a fish. Let me see what he's catching and what this is about.
Yeah, because you've got a really nice intro, Mike.
Yeah, and I use that a lot of the time, but generally I still do an intro before that, and then I play the intro. Sometimes I'll just go right into playing it, but they say that you have 15 seconds to catch someone's attention that is new to a channel. If you can't catch them in 15 seconds, they're not coming back. And so a lot of time I'll do what they call an action intro. And so let's say that I went out there and I ended up catching a bull red and I have that awesome hookup. I'll put just a little bit of that at the beginning. And the moment I hook up and I scream about it, I'll cut it to an intro and then go out because it makes them want to see the rest of that.
Yeah. What did you catch? What's on the end of that line?
Yeah. And so I won't even show them the fish. It's just me hooking up and screaming about it. And then it cuts.
Yeah. I've done that several times. Yeah.
Action intro.
There you go.
I like that.
Learn something new.
Let's talk real quick on equipment. Obviously, we're all running a GoPro, and I'm pretty sure all of us are running action hats.
Yep.
Yeah. Thank goodness.
Thank goodness. Why?
Because mine was floating down the river and you saved it.
Yeah. Well,
when I flipped my kayak.
Yeah. So, have you flipped your kayak?
Nope.
Yet.
I stepped off of it though.
You stepped off of it?
When I first bought the Hobie,
I
was standing up, right, thinking I'm cool, like I'm like Mike fishing standing up.
And you stepped off of it?
And it wobbled, and I just stepped off. 4 feet of water.
So, but the kayak didn't flip?
45 degree. The water temp was about 40s.
I've been there.
The kayak didn't roll over,
The kayak didn't roll over. I just stepped off it.
I did that a week ago.
Did you really? Yeah.
Stepping off of it, or
Yeah. I stepped off of it.
Like a diving board.
Yeah. And I was waist deep in mud.
Did it flip?
No.
is that the one of those pictures you sent where the whole kayak is covered in mud and you're covered in mud?
Yeah.
You're like, I had dry clothes.
And I was stopping so that I could get a photo and some B-roll of the sunrise. Mm-hmm. And so I always, out there in the marsh, some of that is soft. We know that. And so I always take my paddle and I like hit the ground next to it just to make sure that I can stand on it. And it seemed solid. And so I stood up and I jumped off of it like it was a diving board, and I just went straight up. And so about 3 inches was hard mud, and then everything else was soft. So I sank. And then the fun part was trying to get back out of the mud and back on the kayak. That was a nightmare.
I was mad at you because I was right there and you didn't yell for me.
Yeah.
Is that going to be on a video at any time?
No, because I had the camera on my kayak when I jumped because I was going to pull it out and start taking some.
Bummer.
See, if you would have yelled for me, I would have made sure I
Got
You
it.
went over there and
Yeah,
got some video of
recorded.
it.
Not that I wanted to help him. I just wanted to get the
Just
footage.
because you're a buddy like that.
Yeah,
right?
I'm a nice guy.
So when Kevin flipped hit, well, he didn't. We were getting out of it at a boat ramp, and like the boat ramps have those deep washes in it, those propeller washes. Well, he stepped off on the wrong side, and so he goes in, and the kayak rolls, and I took my action hat off, and I almost turned it on and set it down, but I was like, no. I'm going to give him a little grace, not embarrass him too much. But
You should have done it.
I should have done it. I
it.
regret it to this day, not turning it on and have a picture of Kevin flailing there in the water.
Screaming, somebody help me.
Get my stuff.
Get my stuff. I was yelling, get my stuff.
Other equipment, cameras, whatever else are you, Mike, you said something about using external batteries to kind of keep your stuff charged.
Yeah, so I do. I keep an external battery that will charge my GoPro batteries at least 4 times while I'm out on the water. I've never had to use, those batteries, but it is nice at the end of the day to come home and all your batteries are already charged again, so I don't have to worry about that.
Is this a box you built or something, or is it?
No, it's just a battery pack that you buy at Best Buy. It's just an external, and it'll hold. It's made for iPhones, to be honest, but you can put whatever you want on there. And I just keep that with me, and it's about the same size as a phone. It's really small, And so I do that. I also, I run the 2 GoPros, and then a DSLR for all my footage. But I did just get the DJI Pocket.
Oh, you did?
Which is about the best camera. That thing is amazing. It is phenomenal.
So it's a camera or it's a drone?
It's a camera.
Okay.
But it's a camera, but it's on a gimbal.
Oh, really?
It's on a gimbal, and it fits in your pocket. It's like this tall.
Yeah.
And it fits
It's
in
like
your pocket.
5 inches? 4 inches?
4 or 5 inches. It's on a gimbal. Shoots in 4K.
I didn't realize they were small.
At
It's
60
great.
frames. You can do photos, videos. It's one button. It immediately turns on. You can flip it, and it does tracking just like a drone does.
Wow.
This weekend at the expo, he had his, and I just watched him and Caleb for like 20 minutes geek out over this, and they sucked me down the rabbit hole. So I'm already getting ready to purchase one myself.
Got one coming?
The things are awesome. You it hooks straight up to your phone. You can use your phone as a display screen.
Wow.
It's great.
So yeah, that's that.
But don't tell anybody.
And I will tell you that for B-roll, there's nothing better.
Good.
At 4K1, because I can get all of those shots that like a big camera would get in the way. Mm-hmm. I can do that. I do a lot of shots like through the grass and the tree lines and stuff like that. You can put your arm right through it, because it's so small, which is great. But 2, it shoots in 4K. And
it's so smooth though with a gimbal. It is so smooth.
It stays on a gimbal, and you can do tracking.
Yeah, I've looked at those. I definitely want to look at yours because I haven't seen one in person. I've just looked at them online. They look bigger online.
They're only that's all.
Yeah, he has it in his pocket. It's crazy.
I wish I did.
No. I mean, at the show, he pulled it out of his pocket. And he's like, "Why are you walking around with that selfie stick? You look weird."
What other equipment you using, Ruben?
I roll with 2 GoPros, and then I have a Panasonic. I want to say it's a Luminex, and I also use my my Galaxy S20. So I get a lot of, because it's like right in my pocket. So, I get distracted easy. So I'm like, "Whoa, where's my camera?" I'm not reaching for it. It's my phone.
What is it? The last one, the something 20?
Samsung Galaxy S20.
Oh, okay.
Just the phone.
Your phone.
Use my Razr flip phone.
Razor?
So, question that we didn't talk about
BlackBerry.
that you.
I love that BlackBerry.
Why did y'all decide to start making YouTube videos? Kevin, we'll start with you. I guess you kind of already talked about it.
Yeah, I did. My youngest girl wanted me to. So,
Mike, why did you decide to do fishing videos?
I had no intention of doing this at all, but I had friends and family that asked me to, I was posting up photos of like some really nice fish, and that, I had some friends and family that asked me like to just take a camera out and record some of that, so that they could see it. And honestly, YouTube was the best platform that I could post it where I didn't have to send it out to all of them. And so I would just give them a link. And so that's what I did. I never intended to be a YouTuber by any means. But after a few months, I got on there, and then I had a few hundred subscribers, and it just kind of blew my mind. I had this audience. And so then I started talking into the camera. Like if you go back and look at some of my first few videos, it's just fishing videos with music on top of it. I didn't say a word. Mm-hmm. And, but I had that audience, and so I started talking a little bit more and giving people information. I had people that were writing and asking questions about fishing, so I'd answer those, and then I'd start answering them in the videos, and then it just became what it is.
It's funny because that's the same thing. People were telling me, "Hey, man, you need to talk in your video." I'm like, well, this isn't really for you.
But it is.
But they said, no, this is, you're fishing, you're catching fish, and entertain us, So I was like, oh, okay. So then, it just kind of manifested itself. I still don't it still feels weird to call myself a YouTuber or a YouTube creator.
I hate that term.
I don't I rarely will you ever hear me say I'm a YouTuber.
No.
I say it, but it's because it's the only thing that I can use to describe myself that other people will get. Because, like you say, well, I'm a creator.
Right.
Of what?
Yeah. I mean, for me, I'm just an average, below average angler with the GoPro. And people just choose to watch me. So I foul hook them in the mouth a lot.
There you go. Yeah. We like watching you.
I've said that in a couple of my videos. I explain to people, I'm no better than you are. I just have more time to do it.
Absolutely.
So I never wanted to record my fishing because I was like you. Am I a fisherman or am I trying to make a video? I'm like, I'm a damn fisherman. I don't want to spend the time, have to take this extra equipment out there, and it's going to interrupt my fishing. I did not want to do that. And then I felt compelled one day, after listening to the Bite Me podcast, I'm like, there ought to be a Texas saltwater kayak fishing podcast. And I started looking around for a podcast, and I couldn't find anything that I liked. And I'm like, you know what? I think I can do this. It's not that hard. I think I can do this. And so that was the genesis for the Salty Yak podcast. And then I was like, well, the YouTube kind of came along as a byproduct of that. I'm like, well, they can listen to us talk about fishing stuff, and then they can go look at it. Hey, maybe this guy does know what he's talking about. He can catch a fish at least, or he can foul hook one in the mouth every now and then. So that's how I kind of got into it, and I never really wanted to do it.
Would you recommend being a YouTube fisherman to somebody that fishes?
Well, that's funny that you should mention that, Kevin. That is a great segue into our next question. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
What's the good and the bad of being a we'll air quote this, YouTuber fisherman?
Well, I would
Let's start with the good. Let's just start with what's the good parts of it.
What's the good? Well, to me, the good part is just sharing the knowledge that I gained from others. I mean, I am a student of the game. I've been in the water kayaking for 8 years, but there's not a time I go by where if I fish with somebody like Mike's fairly new to kayaking, but he'll have something or gain some knowledge, and then I'll take some of that knowledge that he's sharing with me, and I'll share with somebody else, especially when it comes to using lures and fishing artificials. But the gain to me is just, I wouldn't say getting recognition because it's always weird, when people stalk you at a bait camp, but it really is. I just really enjoy just educating, teaching, or just showing somebody, entertaining somebody a little bit. I really get pleasure out of,
A lot of my career in law enforcement, I spent 10 years as a teacher, and that's what I did. Taught lots of different things. So this was a really natural progression of that. But Mike, go ahead. The good parts of being a YouTuber.
You know, one of my favorite things about being a YouTuber is having people write me and telling me that my information helped them and now they feel like a better fisherman, or they caught this because they watched, you know, and that's awesome. That's just an amazing feeling. I mean, that's why I've continued to do this. That is really cool. I love that about it, you know, giving out that information. But beyond that, just meeting new people. I am not a social person, realistically. I've become that way because I've had to, and you know. But one of the greatest things is before I would fish by myself all the time, and now I meet. You know, I've met so many people, and that is really, really cool. Just you know, gaining this community and this relationship of fishing with everybody. That's awesome.
Yeah, Kevin.
Let me just go ahead and say what happened today.
Go ahead. Or was it today?
Today.
Today. Okay.
So this is what makes me happy to call myself a YouTuber sometimes. I was out checking water levels at different places today. And I pulled up to this kayak launch, and this guy starts yelling, hey, Kevin, come here. I'm like, who is this guy? And anyway, so I went over there, and it was one of my subscribers, and he had used one of the techniques that he learned from me to catch a 27.5-inch trout.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's cool.
I was like, dude, that's better than my PB.
Got it.
And that, I was so freaking proud. I took a picture of him and everything. I told him, I said, I won't put it on social media. I just want it for me. It was so cool.
I think we're all the same. You know, it's helping people and meeting new people, you know, and that have, by and large have been really good guys and gals. You know?
Oh, yeah.
You know, the vast majority of people that I have interactions with it has been nothing but positive. I have heard occasional, you know, I met a guy one night. It wasn't by a porta potty or anything like that. But, you know, I met this guy one night I had never met to go fishing because my wife wouldn't let me go fishing that night anymore because I flipped the kayak in 50-degree water. And lucky I didn't drown that night. Yeah. But so she wouldn't let me go by myself. So I met this guy on the internet. So, you know, Texas.
That's how it all starts.
That's how it all starts. That's how
it always works out.
So, you know, Texas Kayak Fishing Forum or something.
You know, hookup.com's not fishing, right?
Is there a hookup.com?
I don't know.
There's a plentyoffish.com.
Well, no.
Yeah.
You know, if there's a hookup.com, maybe we ought to make one and it could be like a fishing dating app. Right? Anyway, let's get back to my story. So I met this dude online and we meet and we go fishing for the night. Super nice guy. Fished with him since. But, you know, I haven't had met a creeper or, you know, something like that. So the vast majority of all this stuff has been the positive. And the biggest positive. I think that we all would agree.
One thing I will say that it's kind of funny because I never thought that a GoPro would take me down some of the avenues that it has. And with me, you know, because I'm easily distracted. I'm also easily distracted in life. And some of the stuff that I have been able to do just because I have a GoPro and because I have fishing videos has been pretty cool. You know, I'm part of Saltwater Soul Shore Patrol, which I'm actually the admin for that, which will be coming out pretty soon. Doing some more cleanups. Yeah, we're going to do some more cleanups.
Yeah, because I'm on that list.
I'm supposed to meet up with Billy Ray this week, or if not, beginning of next week, so we can get some dates in the calendar. But also, you know, because of the GoPro, also invited to do other things, like at Sea Star Base Galveston, going out there, volunteering, children with disabilities, adult with disabilities, them and with Texas Park and Wildlife, which hopefully pretty soon I'll get certified to become a teacher for Texas Park and Wildlife. Not that that's really a big accomplishment, but for me, that's pretty good stuff, you know.
It's good stuff.
So it's kind of strange, you know, the course life takes you when you just go out there and buy a camera and where you end up.
And doing something that you love.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
I mean, because I just love giving back, you know, and that's part of why I walked around with the camera at the expo was just so I can show these great small businesses that we have in Texas and introduce them to other people, because I had no idea that we had a kayak manufacturer here in Cypress, Texas.
Really?
Hoodoo Kayak. I had no idea.
I didn't know Hoodoo was made there.
I had no idea. And then there's another, some great rod companies that we have as well.
Yeah.
As well as a lot of lures, big industry right now. So it was just, to me, is just part of giving back, so I just really get a kick out of that.
All right. So there's the bright, shiny side.
Uh-oh.
So we flip it over. What's the dark side of being a recognized YouTuber? Who's going first?
Oh man,
I don't have to go first because we'll talk.
I guess we'll.
Let's just go Ruben first.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Well, the lovely side of it is, all those, well, I hate saying it, but we get trolled a lot.
Troll is a good word. And
We get, to the point where you're like questioning, should I meet this guy in a parking lot?
Right.
Not really, not literally, but
there's some
it's
of them I
just-
would like to meet in a parking
for sure,
lot.
for sure.
But no, but just like, man, what are you talking about? I know mental illness is a big thing in this country. And I hate thinking that way, but some of these questions and some of the stuff that you get, and I'm not going to give any examples because I don't want to give that person or group of different individuals any kind of glorification, but it's just some of the stuff that people say and ask. I'm like, oh my gosh, do you even fish, bro?
Yeah.
You know what's really going on?
Y'all are way more recognized than me and Kevin are. But even at our level, we get people who are like, what in the world are you thinking? So trolls, Mike.
Yeah, we the troll thing. Do you guys talk back to them, or you just ignore them?
Ignore them.
No, so, I used to ignore them.
No, are you talking about like on social media or in person? Do you ignore them or?
I don't know that I've had anybody in person come up and say something to me.
Okay.
Keyboard cowboys never show up in person when you ring their doorbell.
No.
Yeah, I haven't had anyone
this
in
is
person, but I get a lot of that on social media. And I used to sit there and fight and argue back and forth, and then I realized how much time I was wasting before, And I also used to like delete the comments or just like remove them, and I don't even do that anymore because and I think it's helped as like my following and my subscribers has grown. I don't even have to write back to them half the time. Most of them will do it for me.
Correct.
And I
Yeah,
stay
that's
out
a
of
good-
it.
that's
and
a good thing about
I stay
having-
neutral, and everybody, there's been a few cases where people have gone and said things, and I go back and check it, and there's 45 comments, and before they finally delete their profile or whatever. It happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember a few incidents on yours. Yeah.
Yeah, me and
I think I was on there. One of my comments was
me
on
and
there.
Ruben.
It was. I remember you commented on it. We were both the defenders of the faith. Yeah.
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 And you just don't spend time with them. If it's leave crazy alone.
Yeah,
Don't
yeah.
stir up crazy.
When I reply back, most of the time, I'm trying to educate them. I'm letting them know, listen, fish they may have feelings, but they're tough. Reds are tough. Flounders are tough. They're going to be okay. They got more things to worry about than me touching them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
The mishandling, the way you mishandled that fish. Yeah.
Or me releasing fish. That's a big thing.
Yeah, but when
I
you
get that
start
a lot.
kissing them, it kind of, I don't know.
Yeah.
It was Jimmy Houston was okay. Well, it's okay.
Yeah, but I'll get people that are upset with me because I release fish.
So
I just saw that.
I didn't.
Because you released them?
Because I
hang
release
on.
them.
Get this. So
Okay.
it is catch and release in Europe is illegal on trout streams. So if you're fishing the way they see it, you catch one or two, immediately bonk them over their head with a priest. And any of y'all ever listen to the Bentka podcast, you'll know what I'm talking about. They hit them with a billy club and they go home. They don't catch anymore. They think of the way we do it here, catch and release, is torturing the fish. So I wonder how many of those people that were saying that were from across the other side of the pond.
I don't know. It's funny that you say that because I think killing and eating a fish is a little harder on them
Maybe.
than holding them up for a GoPro and watching them swim away. Because I've caught the same fish twice before, several times. I think everybody has.
Yeah.
I think everybody has. So
I think they're tough enough that you catch them, you get them back in the water fairly quickly, and they're fine.
you see flounders with dolphin bites on them because they're being tossed as frisbees.
Oh,
Our reds are big chunks take out of their back.
even some of the trout, even those are kind of like the sissy fish. But
Don't talk about trout like that.
I don't like trout.
No, I'm not a big trout guy either.
I release most of my fish, probably 95%. And occasionally, if I, gut hook a fish or something like that, and I got to bring it home. Like that's the days where I'm just like, okay, well, I'm going to have a meat haul today. That's what it is. But it's crazy that I get both sides where people are angry that I'm releasing them, and then people are angry that I'm not. Like you can't make them happy at all.
Exactly.
People get mad because you keep a fish?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I didn't know that.
Sometimes.
Especially
I
if
guess I
it's
don't keep enough.
especially if it's a big trout.
Yeah, something over 20. Release all
No,
over 20.
I do release every trout over 20. I will do that. But last year I caught a 28 at night, and I did everything I could to get that fish back in the water, and he just kept coming belly up. And I probably tried for an hour, and finally I was like, well, he's just not going to make it. And I took it home, and I took a photo of it because it's a 28-inch trout, and I held that up, and I had so many comments. People were just and I even, like, when I made the photo, I posted, like, I tried to release this fish. He just wasn't going to live, and I'd rather bring him home than let him float away, And people were mad. Like, I probably had 25 comments on there where people were pissed that I kept that fish.
Wow.
So, Kevin, how do you feel when somebody gives you a thumbs down?
Well, it used to bother me a lot. I mean, it really bothered me. I used to call you all the time and talk about it because I just, now I don't care, I really don't anymore because I know that I put the effort out to make a good video, and, if they don't like it, they don't have to watch. I don't care.
I told him it was a badge of honor that finally you got enough tension. Somebody thought you were worth a thumbs down.
In my mind, sometimes it's the same people.
Oh yeah, I would not doubt it.
I get two every video.
I like it when I get it.
Two.
I like it when I get a thumbs down when I'm out there teaching a kid to fish.
Yeah,
we're giving back to community, and I get a thumbs down for teaching a kid to fish.
I got a thumbs down on a giveaway where I was literally just giving stuff away.
That's because they didn't win anything.
Don't know, but those are things. Us on the social media platform, we have to deal with the negativity. I say deal with it. My ways, most of the time I just ignore it, which leads us kind of into the next thing we're going to talk about. What do you think about, what is your opinion on giving away fishing locations? Spot burning, if you will. Well, I guess it's not true spot burning, but it may turn into a spot burn.
I'm going to go last on this one.
Okay. Well, I'll go first.
Go ahead.
So I have been guilty of this in the past, where I have told people, I have put out there on social media where exactly I went and what exactly I caught. And I'm not going to apologize for doing it then. I don't do it anymore because this is what I have learned is, and the old adage is, give a man a fish, you feed him for a day, teach him to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. It's the same thing. I can tell you where that spot is, and you may or may not go catch fish there. But if I teach you how to look for good spots and go find your own spots, I'm doing you more of you might not think I'm doing you a favor at the time, but that's the whole point. I want to teach people to be better fishermen. And part of that is figuring out where to go catch fish.
I mean, you're absolutely right on that. I mean, I agree 100% with what you just said. A lot of the reason why I won't do it is because I'm friends with pretty much anybody I come across. Mm-hmm. And I know a lot of different kayakers and a lot of different anglers. And I'm just not going to say where I fish because I don't want 20 people to roll up where they normally fish. It's just like, it's to me. And I know I feel bad sometimes because I will have like somebody who comments a lot in my videos and stuff like that. And they'll ask me, hey, where did you go? Where did you go? And I feel bad not telling them. But then I also know that I have buddies of mine that fish those same waters in tournaments. Mm-hmm. So I'm just not going to do it. I just made up my mind that I just won't say any spot. Of course, unless it's pretty obviously where I'm bank fishing or wade fishing, then I'll give it up. I know I caught a little bit of flack because I spent a lot of times this flounder season wade fishing the South Jetties. Mm-hmm. And a few guys that are regular there were like, man, you're like sending all these people up here. And I'm like, man, no way. Everybody knows what the South Jetty is. Until I went and I ran into 5 people that told me the reason why they were there was because I showed them how to get there. And I felt bad, but in God's honest truth, sorry.
Well, you didn't.
I mean, honestly, I feel bad about it, but it says like me. I mean, it's just a weight fishing spot. I'm not giving up back marsh locations, launch points, going across. I'm not giving pin drops of oysters, and I'm just not our water depths. Like you said, it's a big deal to be able to use Google Maps, and I work backwards.
Yeah.
When I look at Google Maps, I'll look at a marsh area, I'll look at oysters, and I'll work backwards, and I'll use the measurement on Google Maps to see how far is that from a place that I can get into from a kayak.
So, I forgot what I was going to say. Mike, your name, or Kevin, he's going last. He called last.
So on the spot burning, is that what we're?
Yeah. That's what we're talking about. Squirrel.
I know. I think I went off a little bit.
So, I've really changed my perspective on this. I'm a lot newer than y'all are at this. I've only seriously been doing YouTube now for maybe like 10 or 11 months. And a couple months ago, I did a video called "Amazing Day at Salt Lake," and and then I have a friend that's a fishing guide, and he texted me, and he's like, "What are you doing?" And at the time I was thinking, that's a pretty big area. That's not, and it's pretty well known. It's not, I'm not going to call that spot burning, but now that I think about it, the more I've thought about it, the longer that I do this, I could have titled that differently where I didn't actually point out that location. I could have gave a more general location. And, so I have to agree with what Carrie says. Teach people to fish. Teach them how to find their own spots. Because if a person went to Salt Lake a couple of days after I put out that video and they didn't catch nothing, then they're going to be like, well, Kevin told me this is where all the fish were. Well, if I told them why I went there that day, what I was looking for, and how I found it on Google Earth, they might have found a different spot and actually gone and caught fish.
This was the thought I had. It's all public water, right?
Yeah.
Where we're fishing in salt water, it's all public water. And most of the places where we access that, it's public access. Whether you launching at a boat ramp or you're launching at a kayak launch, you're launching at a combat site off the side of the road, it's generally all accessed by the public. But yeah, you give it, you tell somebody, this is where you don't want 100 people showing up there. But then you look at that guy and I'm just new to this. I'm trying to figure it out. And we all want to try to help him. But how much help is, because I had the very first time, so being a bike rider, I used an app that would track a GPS track I posted a picture of that on my Facebook. And I had a guy reach out. He's like, yeah, you're probably not as helping as many people as you think you are. And I was like, well, I ended up taking the picture down, and I was like, I don't know about that. But now that's been several years ago. He was probably right. Not really. We want to help them, but sometimes that means we don't feed them with a silver spoon. Yeah,
right.
And it's touchy.
Yeah,
it is, because this guide I'm talking about was really, really pissed off at me.
And there's going to be people that get mad, and I'll tell this little story, then I'll let Mike go. We do some of these Salty Yak get-togethers where we're getting together and fishing. We did our first one in Chocolate Bayou. Everybody met at Chocolate Bayou. I had no idea. This is a thing I put out there on our private Facebook group, and I had no idea how many people were going to show up. I think like 13 showed up. It was no big deal. So we go to another spot, well-known spot, where I had like 25 show up. And I got some messages about that. And the thing, this place was so big that we all went in different directions. You never saw another person. But they felt that, hey, your team. But I'm like, it's a public boat ramp, And their reply to me was, that place is going to be all fished out now. And, needless to say that it wasn't. But
No.
Anyway, so it's a touchy subject.
It is.
It's a touchy
It
subject.
is.
And Mike, we will let you go now.
Okay. I agree. I definitely would much rather teach somebody how to fish and teach them how to understand why to pick the right location. I think is way more beneficial. Not only that, but if I were to give you a spot and you went there tomorrow, chances are it's not going to be the same.
Exactly.
Beyond that, I post videos sometimes 2 and 3 weeks after I fish there. So even if you saw that and you ran out to it, if I gave you a spot, the conditions are completely different. Everything is different about that. And so it's not going to help you to follow my videos and say, oh, well, he said to go here, or he said, a lot of people will be like, well, he's catching a lot of fish here. Well, I was 3 weeks ago.
But it can even change like in a matter of hours.
It can.
In a couple days.
No
And
doubt.
so
The battery died. Do you want me to go get another one or?
No, let's just roll.
Okay.
And so, yeah, I would rather not give away locations. But beyond that, I used to. There was a few videos early on where I absolutely gave away some spots. And then as I got a little bit bigger, I learned really quickly why that's a problem. And I gave away a spot one day on accident. I was trying to explain why I was fishing a certain area, and I said the name of this place, not thinking anything of it. I thought I was going to go out, catch a few small fish, do a video on it. And I ended up catching like a 27-inch trout, like second cast. And then all day long, I caught 20-inch trout.
Wow.
And, but I had all that footage and my intro was already done. So I posted it and I was explaining why those fish were there. And then 2 days later, went back there and you couldn't find a parking spot. There was no one, and I had friends, like good friends that fish there all the time. They were writing me and they're like, I cannot believe you did this. You've ruined this spot. And I agree, I did. I know I did. And it's not fair. Even, some very common areas, it's not fair to the people that have worked and grind to figure out why they go there on certain days. I think all of us have, 10 to 12 like spots that you want to go to and you want to check out, right? And if so, there's certain spots that I will go to based on the weather. And if somebody burns it and you get 25 people showing up there, it's not a great spot. And a lot of those tournament fishermen, it's the same thing. And so even those really, really common spots, I just refuse to give the name. If you can figure it out from my background, chances are you're going to know where it is anyway. Good on you. I'm not going to give you the name.
That was the other thought that I had. How careful are you when you record your videos of your background of the locations?
Well, for me, I just don't show like the launch area.
Okay.
I just try not to show the launch area. And again, like Mike was saying, just to touch on that, I just try to respect those anglers that have put in that work and to find out, what areas are holding fish at what times and what tide and stuff like that. But for me, I just try not to put, there's a couple of entrances like in the marsh that I won't show either, just because you know where that area is. Well, and it's not so much for me, like Mike said, if you fish there, then you know, but I just like if the fish are biting, and I don't put videos out, like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Sometimes it might get a little stretch if I have other stuff going on, like this weekend with the expo. But for me, I don't put videos out that far back. So it was just a handful of days ago.
Yeah, so you're kind of the same way. You're kind of rolling your video process. We go fishing how many days after?
I'm 2 weeks out now.
Oh, that far, huh?
Yeah.
They do a lot of fishing, huh?
Yeah. Well, I only put one video out a week. I try to put out a video every Monday. That just way, people that do watch my videos know, well, he's going to put a video out on Monday.
If I had time to edit, I would have at least 3 videos out a week.
Really?
That's my goal.
3 a week.
3 a week.
3 a week.
Because
I'd love to do that.
I want Texas
full time.
Yeah. I want Texas all water fishing to be on all the time, no matter what. So I don't have to be your favorite person to watch, but after you run through 2 or 3 guys and they don't have no videos out, well, come watch me. We'll take you. Mm-hmm. I'll be number 5, number 6, number 10.
I just worry about people getting tired of seeing me. I'd rather them wait until one day a week. And then it's kind of like when you was a kid growing up and you was waiting on Baa Baa Black Sheep to come on a Wednesday night at 6 o'clock. Not that I ever watched it. But it's kind of like that,
Baa Baa Black Sheep.
You don't
You
know?
even know you're not old enough.
I'm old enough. I think I'm old enough. I don't know. Baba Black Sheep though.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What? I don't know. What do you mean Baba Black Sheep?
It was a show that came on Wednesday nights at 6
Was it
o'clock.
P-47 Mustangs?
Corsairs.
Were there Corsairs
Yeah,
on
yeah,
there?
yeah.
Corsairs.
Yeah. It was, never mind.
I turned 45 Saturday.
And
So I'm old enough.
So you're the youngest one in the room.
I don't know Baba Black Sheep though. No, Mike's younger.
Yeah, I'm 39.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's in 40.
I
the
just
mo-
look like I'm
It's
60.
the mom.
you just age.
So when I was a
crazy.
kid, it was a show with what was his name?
Pappy, whatever was the character, but I forget
was-
who the.
He was a famous movie star back in the
Yeah,
day.
I can't-
But anyway, it was about World War, a Navy fighter squadron from World War II. They were the derelicts of the sky. They were like, if you screwed up, you got put on the Black Sheep Squadron.
Oh, okay.
And so they were a lot of fun to watch.
Man,
Yeah.
I must have been watching something good. I don't know.
Gilligan's Island.
Yeah.
Oh, is it on Wednesdays? I went to church a lot. When I was growing up.
I did. Oh no. My
If it was on
parents.
Wednesdays, I was there. I didn't watch a Super Bowl until I moved out of the house.
Well, my parents made me go to church on Wednesday nights. I would actually pretend to be sick so that I could stay home and watch Mobile Black Sheep.
And this would be the confession time.
That's a cut.
So, we were talking about videos and putting them out. I'm lucky. If I go fishing, I just put out a white bassin video that we fished 2 weeks ago. Just between work and everything else and life, I'm not near as prolific as other people here in the
So
room.
here's the deal. I put out that video. I try to put that video out every Monday. But if I get backlog, like say I have 5 videos ready, I'll go ahead and start putting out 2 videos a week. My thing is we all have dry periods, and I don't want to get stuck where there's a week it's like, oh man, I gotta go fishing because I gotta put out a video. I don't want to be like that. So
I tell my wife that.
I just tell my wife, I need to go,
I got to go to work.
get some footage.
I
need to get some
I don't
footage.
ever want this to become what I consider a job to supplement my income because I don't want to have to fish 5-6 days a week. I want to fish 5 or 6 days a week. I don't want to have to fish 5 or 6 days a week.
Well, do you take days off from recording and like doing the YouTube thing to just fish?
Not really. I mean, I go like
I will sometimes. Yeah.
when I go
Once a
fishing.
week.
When I go fishing, sometimes if I want to go explore new areas, I'll put the GoPro on just to have it on. But it's not. It's kind of like if I get in there and I get into it and I start seeing big, huge groups of reds, I don't want to miss that.
Yeah. I mean, I'll always take my GoPro.
Yeah,
I always bring it, for the footage, but I'm not like, and if something happens, sure. But a lot of times, on those days that I just want to go fish, it's not ready. It is what it is.
okay, I do that. Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, but for me, like you, to me, this is a full-time thing. This is turned into full-time. Like 6 days a week.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you've got the saltwater soul thing working and all
Yeah.
that, and
But, but for me, my GoPro and editing is full-time all the time.
So how many, ballpark it for me, on an average video, how many hours of editing does it take to get that video out?
A lot of time I'll scrap it and I'll start over.
Really?
I do that a lot because I don't like the direction it went in, or I wanted this instead of that, or I'll second guess myself. And so for me, it can take anywhere from 4 to 8 hours.
4 or 48
4
to 8.
dash 8 hours.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's probably average for everybody, but a lot of times I will start over.
Yeah. Mike?
So when I first started doing this, editing a video was like a 2-day process.
Mm-hmm.
Now I can generally do it in 3-4 hours, something like that. And I think a lot of it is I've just learned to, I've learned the programs better. I've learned exactly where I need to make cuts, where I need to do all that stuff, how I need to do it. Transitions, come easier. I have a lot of that stuff saved, and I just drop it in. So yeah, somewhere 3 to 4 hours normally.
which that transition you did where the wave came, that was sick, dude.
You know how many people wrote me and asked me how I did that?
Oh, I know how you did it. I know how you did it.
Well,
It's just I know how much work that was going frame by frame.
so I don't. That is 4 images laid on top of each other, and a lot of people don't know that.
Yeah.
And while there is some masking, there's some other tricks on those. Like I also have 2 frames that are fading simultaneously at the same time.
That was sick. Yeah, I caught that.
I spent probably an hour on that transition, and then realized I should probably get the rest of this video done.
You know, I'm going to just say my favorite YouTuber is not a fisherman. It's Peter McKinnon.
He is absolutely my favorite.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. And I can watch his videos over.
So now we know where they get all their ideas from.
There you go.
So-
There we go. Now we know.
You want to see B-roll? Go watch it.
Oh my God, dude. The coffee thing.
Yeah.
That was amazing. Anyway, so I have a video that I'm working on. It was from my white bass fishing trip the other day. I've done 3 minutes of that video and spent 6 hours on it yesterday because I'm just, I mean, you can't tell by looking at some of my earlier videos, but I'm very anal. And
I would never guess that.
I am. I have deleted that and redone that and deleted it and redid it. And I'm trying to do something completely different from my other videos to try to make this one stand out and be more cinematic and something, you know, because I think every video you should be able to say, that's my best video yet. My kids think it's funny. I'll say, come watch this video, come proof it. Because I get my kids to proof my videos before I post them. And I'll say, I think it's my best one yet. And they laugh because I say that every video.
My worst, what I think is my worst video,
Has the most views.
has my most views. I'm like,
Isn't that
you got to be
amazing?
kidding. And it's crap. There's like no editing done on it at all. It's fishing green lights in Port Mansfield.
Yeah.
And they were like, it was just like crazy good though.
I think I know what Mike's going to say.
Yeah, I've talked to, you know, so me and Caleb have said this many times in the past. Like, it's the videos that we have to rush that do the best. I don't know why, and I'll tell you, the video that I have more views than anything by a long shot. I did that video when it rained for like 2 weeks straight, and I was like, I've got no footage. I've got to sit down and do something, and so I did. I went into a room, I turned the camera on, and I just started talking. And I think the editing process on that was, I don't know, 30, 40 minutes. And I posted it up and I'm like, it's going to do horrible. But it at least keeps the algorithm for YouTube happy that I did a video a week. And then it started off really bad. I only got a few hundred views. And then about 5 days after that, I woke up and it had 9,000.
Is that the one we talked about earlier?
Yeah.
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 I
thought that was a good video.
Yeah, I thought so too. And when
everyone
Mike
says that, and it was just like, and I just went in there and I was like, I got to get this done like right now. And so I just ran through. I grabbed some products to like show, you know.
Mike's like, I just did a crap video. Watch it, and I'm watching it. I'm like, that's a really good video.
Yeah.
That's
it
not
was.
a crap video.
Yeah, and then it got shared by like a bunch of kayak companies, and it just
It took a life of its own.
Yeah.
yeah. And then 3 weeks later, I had to do another video like that, and that one ended up with like 150,000 views,
Right.
like almost back to back. And both of them are the same thing. It was just they took me under an hour to film, edit, and upload.
Like-
and then you think about, you know, all the ones you spent hours on working, and you're
Days.
like, why are these not, you know, producing like those other ones are?
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because like the work, like for me, easiest video to ever edit. Walked in and out. It was really just a crap day. Had my buddy Cody there. And I said, Cody, let's talk about flounder fishing.
Oh yeah.
He's like, dude, my office is so messy. I'm like, nobody's here to look at your office. And I won't point it out. And the intro, I pointed out. I said, look how messy his freaking office is, right?
Yep.
I mean, I'm standing on wrappers and stuff over here, you know? And we just, you know, just kind of flew past it and went, let's walk to the pool and show it in the water. Just, I mean, nothing was rehearsed. I was out there fishing on the docks at his job, just kind of hanging out. And, you know, that's like my most viewed video. It kind of just took a life of his own.
Is that the one where you show the rig?
Yeah, his get her done rig. Yeah.
The get her done rig.
Yeah. So, I mean, now people recognize him at boat launches and give him hugs. And, you know, he's taken a life of his own with his get her done rig. People stop him all the time and tell him, oh man, your rig really helped. And, you know, all this. And it's, again, you know, it's funny. It's really funny.
That video did well. And in fact, it like, just on my YouTube searches or just, you know, I go through my like featured, that thing has been featured on mine at least a few times.
Really?
It just pops up sometimes. Yeah.
Wow.
So it's just amazing how this stuff. You mentioned YouTube
Algorithm.
There you go. If you can, if you kind of get that figured out, and where your videos are popping up, being featured, and hey, recommended, suggested, that's when they take a life of their own.
That's what happens, because nothing like turns into that quickly. It has this point where okay, well, it's gaining some traction, and then it just either blows up or kind of fizzles out. Yeah.
Do y'all pay attention to the one there's one that says Kevin's outside viewers also watched? I'll thumb through those sometimes just to see what they're watching, just to kind of see, well, what's interesting, the people that like my videos.
Well, I am a fanatic about my analytics. I will sit there and check out all trending videos and all of that. And I sit there and watch how long my retention, how long people watch, what made them stop watching. And I'll kind of go through that to try to figure out what I need to do on my next videos. Or hey, a lot of people right now are searching this, or a lot of people got, they ended up at my channel because of this video. And so then I'll do a video similar to that, or something that's about the same topic. And that really helps, one, gain subscribers, but it also gets you those views that will help push your channel on the algorithm.
I know we talked about that. I know you talked about that a lot. Mike is very detailed oriented when it comes to a lot of things, and that's one of them too. And that's where I lack as a YouTuber, because I'm like a caveman out there with a rock and a stick, trying to make fire. But but that's important for anybody that wants to start a YouTube and see how they continue to grow it, is to pay attention to those tools that YouTube provides you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he watches it a lot more than I do. But like I said, the YouTube came secondary to this, because I love doing this.
Yeah.
And it's easier than YouTube. Once you get it together and doing it, and get some buddies to show up and talk about fishing. Hey,
yeah,
it's not real hard to do.
Going to talk about it anyway. Might as well be on a podcast.
Oh yeah. There you go. And if one day this turns into supplementing a retirement income, then great. Yeah. But it's fun. So let's talk about, we were talking about it earlier. How do you feel about people pushing products on YouTube?
So my biggest pet peeve is when somebody pushes a product and I buy that product, and then 2 weeks later they're pushing a different product and they say the product that I bought because of them sucks. It really grates me the wrong way. And it's happened a few times on a few products that I purchased earlier on when I first started getting serious about my fishing.
So you just said you purchase a product because you saw it on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
And that same person goes on there and says the product that you just purchased stinks?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I've seen a few of those.
Apparently, I don't watch enough YouTube.
Have you seen my kayak?
You have a kayak? You kayak fish?
Yeah. There's a story behind that.
The deal that I look at is, for me personally, is, as I've told y'all before we start, we're not sponsored by anybody here. I've had people come and, want to do the 20% off deal and that kind of thing. We put you on the pro staff. And I'm like, I don't use your stuff. So therefore I'm not really down with that. Now there's some stuff that I like using. Shimano reels. I use a lot of TFO rods. I had a really nice Laguna until I broke it in half at a fishing tournament.
Tell them though.
I bought it. Yeah. I was like third owner. So I got it from him. It's gone. It's gone. It's gone. But, so I mentioned the stuff like we're on the channel, what we're using, what jig heads I'm using, what soft plastics I'm using. And I think that is good for people to know what you're using, because what works for me might not work for Ruben. It might not be the same thing that Mike's fishing with. And it doesn't work for everybody else. But I don't like like listening to the podcast, and where the podcast is nothing but the first 10 minutes of it, it's just commercial. He's just giving
sponsored by such and such bait tackle company.
I hate seeing that. So what are y'all's thoughts? Because y'all are let's just say y'all are the guys making money at this right now.
So I won't push any product that I won't physically use. If it was, and sometimes I will talk about products that I've paid for, but I'll never talk about a product that I wouldn't use regardless. And so I'm very, very picky about that stuff. In fact, this week I'm coming out with a video about a product. I paid for it. I love it. I think it's amazing. But I also don't want that to be my whole channel. So it's very rare for me to strictly talk about one product in one video. But what I will do is I'll tell you what I'm using. I'll tell you what rods I'm using, what I caught it on, what baits, what lures, what jig heads, all of that stuff as I'm fishing. But it's so quick, I'm not staying on the topic long. If I pull out a fish, I'm like, well, yep, caught this on, Laguna rod using these jig heads, this lure, and it worked. And I move right on. And I've had companies reach out to me and say, hey, can you do a product video for them? And I tell them that's not the way to get people to buy this. That's not the way to get people to really be curious in it. In fact, it's better if I just go out and I use that product. If I like it, I'll talk about it. If I don't, I won't. And if I like it, that's what's going to get people to go and say, well, now I'm curious, he used this on this video and it seems to work really, really well. Let me go check it out. It turns people off when I say, okay, well, this bait is the absolute best in the world. It's amazing. And you don't see videos of me using it, and I'll never do that. But I see a lot of people do, and it drives me crazy.
Yeah.
For me, it's pretty much the same thing for Mike. I mean, if I'm using it, and I enjoy using it, I'll say it, but I'm not going to harp on it. And I won't say that this is like the absolute bait, because I buy a lot of baits and I use a lot of baits and I'll mooch baits off my friends. I think I have a pocket in my kayak on the side where it's like all the baits that Mike has given me.
I've given you a lot of baits.
Yeah. And it's like overflowing. And, but no, I really like enjoying, and like most people, we're consumers. We like trying new stuff. We like trying new rods, new reels, new concepts, new jig heads, new lures. I mean, we like those things. So as far as product pushing, it's a turnoff in a sense where, because just by naturally, I don't like being sold anything. People try to walk up to me and be like, hey, you want to? No, I shut them down.
Yeah.
Like,
no matter what you're selling, I'm not buying.
Right. I don't want it.
Yeah.
If I wanted that, I would go look for it.
Thank you.
And but for us as YouTubers, I think it's just a fine line to you, because you don't want to come off as that person that's just trying to sell something. But on the other side of it, the educational side, the letting our subscribers know that this is really good and you should really try this. This is something cool to use and something that we see value in. So we're going to share it with you guys, but we're not going to share it because somebody gave it to us free or slipped us money. I mean, I know if I speak for Mike, I mean, because I know he's liked this a lot. He's not going to just fish with anything and tell you it's great just because somebody handed him the product. And I'm the same way. I mean, I just won't, just not in me.
I have turned down a lot of sponsorships because I don't like the product.
Yeah.
And and it's a lot easier for me to do that than to lie about it. And tell you this is a good product when it's not, or it's a product, and sometimes it is a good product. I just don't, it's not for me. I don't like it. And, I turned down most, and I also turned down like a lot of bait company stuff if they are making me exclusively use their stuff, because I want to be able to, on my channel, show a lot of stuff. I want to be able to try a bunch of different baits. I want to do all of that. I don't want to be stuck to one.
Absolutely. I wouldn't take, it would be extremely hard, probably impossible for me to be exclusive to fish with just one lure.
So just think about this. This is where my mind went. So just soft plastics. In a day, I might throw 3 different brands in a day.
Yeah.
I'm probably throwing a Slayer, a Hoagie, and maybe a Down South or a Chicken Boy. So and that's just soft plastic. That's not even talking about a hard bait or anything else.
Yeah.
So I can't. There's no way I could stick to one.
That's been one of the hardest things when I first, not nearly as big as these two, because I've only had a couple of bait companies contact me. But when they did, I emailed all 3 of y'all, because I'm like, y'all's opinions kind of mattered to me, and I knew that y'all weren't product whores or whatever you want to call them, And
That's what it's called.
yeah, I mean,
guess.
for real.
I guess.
So
In it for the money.
yeah, so one of the companies, I didn't know the guy. I didn't know anything about their stuff. So I ended up just telling him, hey, look, I appreciate the offer, but I'm going to pass. And then the other guy is part of the Salty Yak pack. And he makes
Yeah,
lures.
I know who you're talking about.
So I told him, I said, hey, look, dude, I'll try your lures. And if I like them, I'll do a review on the channel. No obligation, no sponsorship, no nothing. And it worked out real good. And I liked his lure,
Yeah.
And he just kind of does it as a
Yeah,
hobby.
he just
It's a hobby deal for him anyway.
Yeah.
So, I said that to say that I just don't think you should, take a company, a lure and push it and say that this is the best thing since apple pie and say, I am now sponsored by Guggen Squad or whatever, and then never use their baits.
Yeah. So here's what I like about, all three of y'all sitting in the room is in my eyes, you're trustworthy. You're honest, and what you see is what you get. And so if you tell me, hey, this bait works for me, and that's we were talking about this earlier, and I think this really just kind of wraps the whole thing up, is people trust you, and the amount of influence that you have, we don't really we were talking about it earlier, you at some point you realize that you're influencing a lot of not only kayak anglers, but anglers in general out there that are watching y'all. And sometimes that's it can be a little overwhelming. Like you said, you couldn't find a place to park just because you mentioned a name of a place on a one video, and then you're like, holy crap.
Yep.
And 5 people showing up at this other spot that you were like,
people are spending their money that they could be buying something other than fishing stuff with because you said this was a good product.
I mean,
Think about that.
I mean, that's a big responsibility to have.
Yeah.
And that I think we, as someone who creates YouTube videos, I think that's a pretty big deal when somebody trusts you.
Yeah.
And trusts your word, and you're a trustworthy person.
And you can lose that real quick.
Absolutely.
You don't want to lose that. You don't want to be known as one of those guys that's just taking it for the money.
Once to lose that.
Yes.
No doubt. I mean, trust is hard earned, but man, you could lose it, and for whatever reason. And we like to be those people that are trustworthy, and that we're known that we're going to help people. We all like kind of being those guys. We all want to be Mike with 10,000, but
One day.
Yeah, definitely.
So, but we were talking about that before we came on air. So it took you just revisit that conversation that we had.
So I started, I guess it was 2.5 years ago, YouTube. But I didn't get serious, really for about 6 months. So I've been doing YouTube seriously for about 2 years. Last year I guess that was 1.5 years ago at the Houston Fishing Show. On the day that I went, I hit 1,000 subscribers.
So a year ago. Well, a year and a half ago.
Year and a half. Yeah. So 1.5 years, I've hit 9,000 more.
Wow. Holy cow.
That's awesome.
Your experience?
As far as?
Yeah. How fast your channel has grown?
Well, last year, I guess around December, I hit 1,000. And now I'm sitting at 5,000. So, I mean, it's grown pretty fast. Not as fast as Mike, but,
Kevin's going to pass me. I just don't put out enough videos. I don't put out enough videos. If I was retired, had all the time in the world, lived 30 minutes from the coast.
The sad thing is he goes fishing with me 90% of the time that I go.
It's the editing.
It really is the editing that slows it down.
Yep.
I think the last thing we'll kind of wrap it up here with is, how do you keep coming up with ideas for videos?
You know what? I'm to a point where I still have ideas that I've written down in a little book. I haven't run out of stuff. I'm approaching that where I'm going to have to start really thinking about that. And one thing I do is I ask my kids. Well, they know things that are trending.
Are you trying to appeal to the younger audience?
yeah, even though my demographic says 45 to 55 is my main target. I mean, but I do ask my kids, and I ask my wife, what do you think I should do a video on? So, yeah.
So speaking of trending, that is one thing that I look at every single week. And if there are topics that are trending, do you guys use like things like vidIQ?
No.
You should definitely sign up for that.
vidIQ.
VID.
I've never even heard of it.
It's pretty cool. He's told me about it like 20 times.
Well, you can set that up, and it will monitor your channel. Plus, one, it gives you a ton of extra information and analytics about your channel that you would never see before. But two, every single week, I get an email from them with everything in the fishing community that is trending based on YouTube searches.
So it's better than TubeBuddy.
Yeah. So I get that. And so I go through and like, okay, in fact, there's a few videos that I've done based on their recommendation because a specific topic was trending on like 10,000 videos. And I'm like, well, it's time. Like I gotta do a video about that. And so I get ideas from that. I also keep footage. Like I said, I'm always 2 to 3 weeks out. And so sometimes I'll keep that footage and like, I'll manipulate that in a way where, I try not to do the same type of videos over and over again. I really try not to do multiple fishing videos in a row, but I also try not to do multiple instruction videos in a row. That way, every week it's going to be something a little bit different.
Gotcha.
I just wing it. Honestly, I will. What is trending in the water is what I'm fishing for, right? So, right, where you're fishing, the season, the what's going on, it's summertime, surf, fishing the rocks, going out to the trout. Buddies want to go fish the jetties. I'm on the boat. I just really I'm living life just fishing, and I just take the GoPro with me, and if it turns into a video, cool, and if it's bad weather, like Mike was talking about, then I have a list of ideas, that I wrote down in my head, and I'll just go through that list. I'll just go through that
right
list.
there?
Yeah, this one. No, the one at home. The one in my coffee can underneath my bed. 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 Underneath my bed.
Hey, sorry everybody for the way the podcast ended like that abruptly. Had a little technical issue where my SD card got full and the recorder turned off. I was horrified when we finished the podcast and I looked down and saw that it was no longer recording. But we've only missed probably the last 6 minutes of our conversation before we closed it out. And we're certainly going to have Mike and Ruben and Kevin back on. We talked a lot of YouTube stuff, but we didn't even get around to talking about fishing, which was one of the topics that we were going to talk about, just how we fish and the gear we use. So we'll certainly have those guys back on and talking about that. So if you want to reach out to those guys, so Mike at Texas Fishing Force, you can find him on YouTube. You can find him on Facebook and Instagram. If you want to contact him, you can contact him at texasfishingforce@gmail.com. Ruben is Texas All Water Fishing, and he's on Facebook. He's on Instagram. He's certainly on YouTube. And you can contact him at texasallwaterfishing@yahoo.com. Kevin, you can find him at Kevin's. That's Kevin with a S outside, and YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. And he is kevinsoutside@yahoo.com. And y'all know how to contact me, the Salty Yak @gmail.com. If you're not subscribed and already watching these guys' YouTube videos, do yourself a favor, go check them out and subscribe to them. I appreciate y'all tuning in and listening to the podcast and sharing it with your friends. So as we always close these things out, wear your life jacket. Somebody out there loves you and wants to see you come home. So put your dang life jacket on. All right, thanks for sticking with us and listening to us, and we'll talk to you later.